The following is a presentation of TBS Sports.
A nation, a city, a time to reflect. With heavy hearts remembering one of our most arduous days, we express our courage, passion, and ironclad will through sport. We must not forget that baseball is America's game. But on this day, the game means much more than stats and standings. Today, it's time to be proud. It's time to be strong. It's time to play ball.
It's Braves TBS Extra Baseball from our nation's capital. It is September 11th as well, and we hope that as you'll pause and reflect and enjoy a Major League ball game today, you'll also remember 4 years ago today the terrorist attacks that took place in our nation's capital, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and of course, New York, New York. Good afternoon, everybody. With Ron Gant, Joe Simpson, Chip Carey back at the ballpark. Joe, the day's dwindling to a precious few for the rest of the National League East. The Braves have a big lead and a chance to make life even tougher for the Nationals for Atlanta if they can win today.
And the Nationals are down to only 19 games left, Chip, and if they want to make a run at the wild card berth, they've really got to go to the whip, as do some other teams in the National League East. When you look at the records in the month of September, you can see that Atlanta has the best record, and Florida is the only team really keeping any pressure on Houston for that wild card berth. Philadelphia, Washington, New York kind of fading, and if they want to have any chance at all of getting a wild card berth, especially when you consider that the National League East teams are playing one another so much, one of those teams has got to go on a run.
One guy that has been on a run for the Braves has been Ryan Langerhans, Ron Gant. He's been given a chance to win the left field job. Some think he may have done that, and his play against the Mets last week at home certainly didn't change those perceptions.
That's right, Chip. That was the one spot that the Braves were worried about, who was going to play left field. Now they think they have that guy in Ryan Langerhans. You saw what he did Wednesday with tying the game up with a big hit and then winning the game with a big hit. He's reached base safely 19 of his last 23 starts. He's 4 for 10 in his last 3 games, and he's done it at the right time.
And he's going to have a chance to do it against this Washington bullpen, guys. We might see everybody pitching for Frank Robbins today. Jason Bergman's going to start. He'll be followed by a cast of thousands. And, of course, Mark Fine, the Braves ace, John Smoltz, will go to the post for Atlanta today as he tries to defeat the Nationals for the second time this season. That sets the stage from RFK Stadium. Let's send it to you now in our Atlanta studios.
All right, thanks very much, Chip, and welcome back to our Atlanta studios. Everybody here very excited again about being a part of Braves TBS Extra. We'll, of course, keep you up to date on all the other games going on in Big League Baseball today. Now, the guys we're talking about the race in the NL East, probably the hottest race in baseball right now, though, the National League wild card race. Here are the teams involved, Florida and Philly, head-to-head today, so we'll, of course, keep a close eye on that game throughout the course of the day. Now, time for you to get involved. I want you to head to AtlantaBraves.com. It's time for our Fans Extra Poll question, and talking about the National League wild card, of course, here is our question. Which team will win the wild card race? You see your choices, not real tough. Florida, Houston, the Mets, Philly, or Washington. We'll, of course, have the Braves and the Nationals. It's coming up next. John Smoltz on the mound for Atlanta. Keep it here on Braves TBS Extra.
Braves TBS Extra, brought to you by Aflac. Ask about it at work. By Just for Men. Targets only the gray for a natural look. By Best Buy. At Best Buy, there's a world of options. Let's find the one with your name on it. Best Buy. Thousands of possibilities. Get yours. And by Johnson & Johnson.
Back at RFK Stadium, glad you're with us. And we are underway with Rafael Furcal in the batter's box against Jason Bergman, who is a reliever pressed into emergency starting duty for the Nationals this afternoon. Bergman has pitched a couple of times this year, guys, against the Braves, and he has electric stuff, it looks like.
Yeah, he is nasty.
And Furcal pops it out of play. He's got a 2-2 count.
What's the streak of innings for their bullpen, Chip? I mean, he's part of a bullpen that's really shut Atlanta down.
20 and 2/3 innings. They've allowed 1 run.
Yeah, and he hasn't allowed any to Atlanta in 5 innings pitched. Pitched a little bit as a starter in the lower minors, but last 2 years, all as a reliever.
And that one got past Schneider and hit the shin guard of Fieldon Culbreth, the home plate umpire. That's a tough way to start a Sunday afternoon, isn't it?
Well, that's what he gets for starting the game early.
That's right. Our producer Jay Hoover has all kinds of tricks. And that's one of the secrets. You go up to the starting pitcher before the game and say, look, if the umpire shortchanged the TV guys, just fire one a little wide of the glove of the catcher.
Just ole a pitch.
And a good start for Atlanta for call walks to open up the ball game.
Here's the rest of the Braves lineup. As for call draws, the leadoff walk. Giles will follow him to the plate. Then Chipper Jones, who's hit in 9 straight. Andrew Jones bats clean up, and he's been red hot, especially against Washington. LaRoche, Francoeur, Langerhans, McCann, and Smoltz round out the order, and we'll set the defense for the Nationals shortly.
Here's Marcus Giles hitting .299, 10 home runs. He's knocked in 52. Braves won yesterday 4-0. They outfoxed and out-homered Livan Hernandez on his home turf last night, or yesterday afternoon more accurately. For Atlanta, their 82nd victory of the season. Braves are 22 over the 500 mark. Pitch. 1 ball, no strikes to Giles.
Part of this bullpen or pitching today with the Johnny Holstaff out of the bullpen and using a reliever, and he's already going to get a visit from Randy St. Clair. That's a shocker. But is the fact that Frank Robinson went through some of his starting pitchers earlier in the week, Ron. In fact, John Alama faced only 5 batters one night. He'd given up 1 run, but Frank claimed he wasn't being aggressive enough. Used him up, and today didn't want to use him again. Would rather go to the bullpen.
That's right. You know, and it's the time of the year where you're trying to make a playoff race, and you're scrambling. If your starter goes only 2 or 3 innings, you got to get in that bullpen a couple games in a row. It's tough for a manager to make those decisions. That's why they have charts and matchups, and that's why he's pitching for them today.
Close pickoff play at first, but Rafael back safely. He's 1 steal away from 40.
Sorry, Chip. Foucault got thrown out yesterday when he overslid the bag, but this catcher, the best over the last 3 years at throwing out base runners.
Not going. Pitch fisted over the head of Chipper Jones and into the seats right past the Braves on deck circle. And that had bad intent. Hopefully everybody's okay. It scattered some fans, but looks like everything's okay. Woo! That was blissful.
And that just missed Chipper Jones.
And honestly, the ball was going so fast, it was already past him by the time he reacted. If it had been at him, it would have hit him.
He's ducking over there now. 1 ball, 1 strike. And that one clipped Giles on the way by. So a walk and a hit batsman. And Chipper Jones is coming up. You'll notice on the batting helmets, those red crosses. Will explain that in a moment.
Well, you know, I can't help but think about what Foucault and Giles have done the second half of the season. They've been doing this the whole second half. Any way they can, they've been on base. And that's the reason why Chipper and Andrew are hitting these home runs, and they're 2- and 3-run home runs, because those 2 guys are always on base.
Top 4 guys in the order have been outstanding. They got to get a couple of guys in the bottom half of the order to get hot.
Chipper's got 59 RBIs. Braves would like to jump in front early and give Smoltz a big lead. The pitch swung on, popped up, twisting to the left side. Zimmerman over, but will have no play. Look at that batting helmet of Chipper Jones. You'll see on his helmet and on all the helmets of the hitters today that Red Cross sticker. And it goes without saying, this is a reminder from Major League Baseball to its fans, its supporters, that a lot of people are thinking and helping about the hurricane ravage in the southeastern Gulf states. Northern Georgia affected so mightily as well. That's headed toward us, and it's into the Nationals radio booth.
I'm beginning to think the safest place is down there on the field.
Those red crosses are red targets, aren't they? But if you haven't donated yet, either your money, your time, your possessions that you can spare, please indeed help out. The 0-2 pitch to Chipper tied him up inside. He didn't swing. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
1-800-HELP now for the Red Cross.
2-on with nobody out against Jason Bergman, an emergency starter for the Nationals. He's only going to go a couple of innings today. Swing and a rocket to the right field corner. That's going to score 1 for sure. Guillen's got to chase it. Foucault scores. Giles will stop at third. It's a ringing double for Chipper Jones. And I think, Joe, the Braves have found a way to score against the Washington bullpen. Start them in the game. It's 1-0 Atlanta.
Well, as Ron said, those guys at the top of the order have been setting the table beautifully, and Chipper and Andrew have been on just a tear driving in runs. Chipper's swinging the bat as well right now, Ron, as I've seen him swinging in the last 3 years.
Yeah, he is, and I had a chance to talk to him, and I said, you know, you guys can put these guys away, and he said, absolutely, we're going to try to draw first blood today, and they have, and, you know, this is a good start for them, because if they can win this ball game, they can put Washington pretty much out of it.
Yep. Here's Andrew. They will take the bat out of his hands again.
Listen to the fans booing here.
Well, huge number of Braves fans are here this weekend. So Andrew will be intentionally walked. That'll load the bases. It'll be the second walk for Bergman. And already their bullpen is up. It looks like John Halama might be next.
Well, you know, if you're going to use the guy, he's a starter.
We both know what he's going to say.
Yeah. What is he? If Frank was just punishing him, why not let him start anyway, rather than take one of your hottest relievers in Bergman and waste him over the first couple of innings?
It makes no sense.
Doesn't to me either. Shortchanging your team that way.
And these are must-win games for the Nationals. They're still in the hunt, but they are 4 games back, I believe, in the wild card. And now LaRoche is up. 3 on, 1 in, still none out. Adam, 6 hits in his last 54 at bats. Went 0 for 4 in game 2 of this series yesterday, but in his first at bat of the series missed a home run by about 3 feet off the wall and right.
Well, Joe, you mentioned it. This is one of the guys they have to get going. Terry Pendleton told me once he gets that front foot down, he's ready to hit. He hasn't been doing that, and that's been his problem.
That should be deep enough to score Giles, however. There's the catch from Church. The tag by Marcus. The ball cut off. It's 2-0. Productive at bat for LaRoche. He drives home his 68th runner of the year.
Well, sometimes that's what you need to get you going. Something positive. You got to do something positive to help your team win. If you can't do it with the bat, do it defensively. But in that situation, he got just enough of that to get that run in, and that's what you need sometimes to build your confidence.
He hit the ball hard, pretty hard 3 times yesterday, and tried to go the other way to stay on the ball a little bit longer. Didn't have a hit to show for it, but I think he is coming around.
Well, that's one of the problems. It seems like when you're struggling, every ball you hit, even if it's hard, it's right at somebody or they make an incredible play. But he's coming around. He knows what he has to do. He's been watching film, and I think he's going to be back where he needs to be soon.
Here's Jeff Francoeur. 2 in, 2 on, 1 out, and a strike. Francoeur made the highlight reels yesterday, robbing Christian Guzman of a 2-run homer in the 5th inning. Leaping high above the right center field fence to pull back that blast yesterday. Tipped and caught. And quickly 2 outs.
Perfect timing. Sometimes it's not just a 2-run homer that helps you win, but a 2-run homer you bring back in this case. Great play.
That would have tightened up that game at 4-2. And after that, Nationals didn't threaten much. There's a high fly ball into right field. Guillen should catch it. Chipper is not going to attempt to advance on his arm. And Francoeur's the second out. Here's the man we spoke of in the open, Ryan Langerhans for Atlanta.
Well, guys, it's good to see a guy just take initiative out there. And, you know, everyone knows you're fighting for a spot. It's late in the season, and you want to get into postseason and be able to start every game in the postseason, and Ryan knows that, and he's taken advantage of the situation and has taken the initiative to win that left field job.
I think this time of year, Ron, you go with whoever's hot, and he's the hotter hand right now.
Right, he's definitely picked the right time to do it.
Yep.
Ryan's hit safely in his last 3 ball games for the Braves. Chance to make it a very productive first inning. It's already 2-0 Braves.
Already 24 pitches for Bergman, so that's cutting into whatever time Frank Robinson was going to use him.
He's got a good arm, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
1
does.
2.
And he's really tough on right-handers at 3/4 to sidearm delivery. Right-handers coming into this outing were only 1 for 20 against him since he got called up.
6'4", 190 pounds. Jason Bergman out of Rutgers University. I'm sure his coach Fred Hill looking on today. That's inside ball 2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Freddie Hill's run that program at Rutgers for forever. And he's got a famous sibling, Brian Hill, an NBA head coach. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 2 on with 2 out. And it's popped up our way and out of reach, thankfully. 2-2 remains the count to Langer Hines. So I've got all these TV sets in front of me. I got a place to duck down.
Well, it's either that or we got to start bringing our gloves up here.
Yeah, I'll trust you 2 guys with the leather. Good eye by Ryan Langer Hines.
This guy's developed basically 2 pitches that are his out pitches. He's got a good hard fastball in the low to mid 90s and a good hard slider. As a starter, you need more than just 2 pitches, so he's not that effective as a starter with just those 2. He's got to have something off speed, but he's not going to be a starter other than today.
Runners go. 3-2 pitch. And again, it begs the question. I don't understand why you don't start John Halama today.
He had a couple of other choices too, Chip. He had a couple of guys that have been starting this year, maybe in the minor leagues, but have been starters as opposed to doing it this way. I don't understand it. Only Frank could explain it.
Again, a 3-2 pitch. The part that really hurts Washington is the point you briefly touched on, and that was if he's only going to go an inning or so, or 2 innings today, what if it's a close game? How'd you like to have Bergman in the 7th and not the 1st? That's the part that's mystifying. The pitch is a check swing strikeout, and that'll retire the side. Braves get 2 runs on a hit, and John Smoltz to the mound next.
Braves have taken the field for the rubber game of this 3-game series, and here's how they line up defensively. McCann and Smoltz are the battery today. And around the infield, Chipper Jones, Rafael Furcal, Marcus Giles, and Adam LaRoche. The outfield right to left. Rookies in the corners, and Francoeur and Langerhans. Andrew Jones is the center fielder. The lineup today for Frank Robinson. Brad Wilkerson leads it off. A 32-year-old rookie, Rick Short, gets the start at second base. Nick Johnson back in the lineup at first, followed by Jose Guillen, who's been a Braves killer. Then Church, Zimmerman, Schneider, Guzman, and Bergman round it all out. And John Smoltz on the mound. Here are the umpires for today's game. Fielding Culbreth behind the plate. Marvin Hudson, Larry Young, and Eric Cooper on the bases. John Smoltz, last 16 starts against this organization. He's 10-0 against the Expos/Nationals.
And he goes for his 15th win today. And Brad Wilkerson looks a little low. 1 ball, no strikes. John has had a marvelous year. Over 200 innings pitched. And an ERA under 3. And were it not for some bullpen problems, John would be making a strong push for his 20th win today.
Yeah, 5 blown saves in games that he left with the lead.
But no crying over spilt milk. Still have 3 weeks left. A strong push. He still very well could get there. And there's a good start. Easy ground ball. Retires Wilkerson for out number 1. Here's Rick Short. Boy, I love stories like this. Guys that have been in the minor leagues a long, long time. Short, one of those guys who hit almost 400 for New Orleans this year. That would have been quite a story. And here he is, finally getting a chance to come to Washington and get some major league experience.
300 career hitter in the minor leagues, but never got an opportunity to play in the big leagues till this year.
Fly ball, well hit. That'll drive Francoeur back. Still going back. Look at that ball carried to the track. 2 down.
Short got called up earlier this year after he was playing so well at New Orleans. Got his first big league at bat and got a hit in his first big league game, and then got sent back to AAA the next day. Went down there, and as you said, Chip, hit 380 and has come back, hit a home run after he came back here in September out of Western Illinois University.
Here's Nick Johnson. He's missed some time with that lingering heel problem. It cost him a month of play. Then he tweaked it a week and a half ago or so, and is just now getting back into the lineup.
And I think that's hurt them a lot. Also, with Vidro being out, I think Vidro is probably the biggest part of this lineup. If he's in the lineup, they seem to be more efficient. He gets big hits, he drives in runs, and he plays a great second base. And, you know, that's the reason why Short's getting the start today. But with Vidro out, man, they're missing a big part of this lineup.
And this is a club that doesn't score many runs at home. They don't score many runs anywhere, but especially in this park. They don't really have a true leadoff hitter. Wilkerson has to do that out of necessity, but he strikes out an awful lot. I think they'd be better served, Frank Robinson too, if they could bat him further down in the order. So finding a leadoff guy spark plug is going to be, I think, a big part of Washington's offseason plans.
I agree with Ron, though. Without Vidro and Johnson in their lineup, they can't win. They just won't score enough runs to have a chance to get in the playoffs.
Right, two biggest guys in that lineup.
Yeah.
Guillen's having a tremendous year also, but he can't do it by himself. Without Vidro and Nick Johnson in there, he can't.
They make him better.
Absolutely.
1-2 from John. And McCann spears that. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You talk about the year that Smoltz is having, but where would the Braves be without Jorge Sosa, the job that he did yesterday, and then the job that he's done all year long with all the injuries to the Braves pitching staff?
Yeah, he won his 11th yesterday, and Joe and I were talking about that on radio. You'd almost have to say it's got to be automatic right now. He'd have to be the Braves' 3rd starter come playoff time.
He'd get my vote. 8 strong innings yesterday.
2-2 pitch. Hard hit ball to second. Everything to the right side against Smoltz, and everything caught by the Braves defense. 2-0 Atlanta after 1.
Los Bravos en Español presentado por CNN en Español. Escucha a Los Bravos con el botón SAP. Los locutores son Pete Manzano y Fernando Palacios.
Beautiful day in our nation's capital. We head now to the 2nd inning. Brian McCann, John Smoltz, and Rafael Furcal are coming up. Jason Bergman still on for the Nationals, and a ground ball fouled at first. Everybody talks about what Andrew Jones did yesterday. Sure, he hit his 47th home run. How about this guy? Brian McCann had the biggest blow. His home run, a 3-run shot off Livan Hernandez.
Just missed getting in the upper deck. And then today in the paper, some questions from Livan Hernandez as to whether or not maybe Brian was getting signs from second base from Jeff Francoeur. To which Brian, when asked about it, laughed out loud and said, "No, I wasn't getting signs."
2-0 the count. Swing and a fly ball hit hard left field. Long run Church. He's going back to the warning track, and he'll have just enough room for out number 1.
Well, you know, it takes everybody in a lineup, and you know, like I've said before, when you're on a winning ball club, it seems like there's a different guy every night to help you win a ball game, and McCann did that yesterday.
John at 156 on the year. Big swing and a miss. What'd you see that kid with that hot dog? Good day for a dog, man.
Yep. He was working it over, too.
This is a big weekend for sports fans in Washington, D.C. You've got the Nationals in play, and the Redskins, I think, are just getting ready to kick off if they haven't already. They're taking on the Bears in their season opener. The Falcons and Eagles kick it off tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Monday Night Football.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The count to John Smoltz.
John's got his work cut out for him today with this guy, as long as Bergman's in there.
I think John was gearing up for the lefty. He didn't think Bergman.
Yeah.
I don't think he thought his term was going to come up till maybe the 3rd inning today. And he said, John did, he wants to hit 250 the rest of the way. He's got some work to do to get to that point. Nasty curveball. 2nd strikeout for Bergman. 2 outs, top of the order. Rafael Furcal, and Coming up in our All Access Part 1, we'll remember September 11th. The Braves will, as well as we reflect on that tragedy that took place 4 years ago today. Still get chills.
I was watching some of the ceremonies this morning in New York City, and Mayor Giuliani, former Mayor Giuliani, involved in that. It was pretty somber.
You all were the first team, the Braves were at that time, to go into New York after September 11th. Joe, what was that like?
It was spooky. It really was. I mean, everybody walking around a little bit, you know, and still in a daze. The cleanup efforts had just begun, and the fact that we were playing the first game at Shea Stadium since the tragedy was a little spooky too, when you see all those planes coming in and out of LaGuardia. It was, I don't know, everybody was trying to put their best foot forward, the player-wise, and I appreciated all their efforts because it was hard to concentrate, but it took a lot for everybody to stay with it.
Furcal walks for the second time in as many trips. Bergman's issued 3 of those in the game. And Marcus Giles will hit with 2 men out. So again, we hope that, well, we're asking a lot of our viewing audience not just to enjoy a ball game, but 4 years may seem like a long time, but for a lot of people in this town, that as if it just happened yesterday. Same in New York, same in Pennsylvania. So I hope you'll think about that as the day goes on today. 2 outs, runner at first for call back.
You know, I was with Oakland at the time, and we came in shortly into New York after that happened, and it was hard to concentrate. It really was, but we knew we had to be out there for the fans and the people of this country.
Furcal goes. The throw is not in time. Swipe tag by Guzman, but the throw tailing toward the right side of the infield. And Rafael Furcal has his 40th stolen base.
Bet you Brian Schneider will tell you this is the worst throw he's made all year. This guy has led the National League in throwing out base stealers for each of the last 3 years. He's at 38% this year, and always right on the money, but not this time.
Yeah, if that throw's on the bag, he's out.
Yep.
So a hit means a run. If Giles can provide it, he's down a strike. And that's off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. I was in Chicago with the Cubs. Our first game back was home against Houston. And Sammy Sosa hit a home run. And as he rounded first base, Billy Williams hands him an American flag, and he takes it for a stroll around the plate. That was a neat moment.
I remember that.
2 balls and a strike. Braves enjoy a 2-run lead. I'd like to tack on a couple more here for good measure against Jason Bergman. He's not pitching the same as a starting pitcher as he did as a reliever, is he?
No, and you wouldn't expect him to. It's almost like he's trying to pace himself too. He knows that he's out there for more than just 1 or 2 hitters.
Good hitter's pitch. Full count.
Now, Frank Robinson's done an outstanding job with this ball club all year long. It's been a Cinderella season for them. But I wondered about this move Friday when we heard they might use the bullpen. I don't know if he's that upset with John Halama. If it is, I think the punishment's going to the other 24 guys, not just to Halama.
The 3-2 pitch struck him out, and the inning is over. 1 runner left. Braves by 2. As we remember September 11th, the Braves reflect on that tragic day.
I was in English class, actually, in 2nd period. It was newspaper.
I was junior in high school.
Came in. It was just after the first plane had hit.
5 minutes later, the second plane went into the other tower.
And the description on the radio was totally different than what I saw on TV.
I remember we have to take the kids to the room and say, don't watch this.
All of us, the Cincinnati Reds, met in the lobby, and we pretty much walked the streets of Chicago.
I can remember from that point on for about 4 or 5 days, not even really thinking about the game of baseball. I mean, how could you?
But baseball is back. The great city of New York is back. The Pentagon has been rebuilt. Memorials have risen in that field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And hopefully baseball's helped that healing process as Jose Guillen bats. 2 balls, no strikes as he leads off the Washington second. This guy, Jose Guillen, has just worn out the Braves this year. His average against Atlanta, .406. 4 of his 24 homers and 17 of his 74 runs batted in have come at the expense of Braves pitchers. You must have gotten locked in on a team or two like that in your career, Ronnie?
Yeah, it seems like every time you face that one team or that one guy, you just wore him out. There was no explanation for it. It was just, you just did it. I mean, there was you look back on it and you say, well, I don't know why I hit this guy or hit this team better than another team, but it's just one of those things that just happened.
3 balls and a strike. And he's aboard with a leadoff walk, and Ryan Church, the potential tying run, is up.
Fans, it's time for the know-how question of the game built by the Home Depot. And if you have a question for us today, send that email to tbsmailbag at atlantabraves.com. And if we pick yours, we'll answer it later in the game. And please include your name and where you're from.
Church was cruising along, making a strong bid for the Rookie of the Year award until he broke his toe in late August. 300 his average, 7 homers, 36 runs batted in. Good-looking young player, but it begs the question, Joe, how does he fit into Washington's plans with all the outfielders they already have?
They're loaded with outfielders, and I would guess that that will be a position of strength they can deal from in the offseason to help improve their ball club.
Big hole right side as Church tries to fill it and finds himself in a 2-strike debacle here.
They like this kid Brandon Watson, who is a fast leadoff type hitter. He might be the guy to fill the bill for them in the leadoff spot next year, and he's on their roster here in September. But if they're not crazy about him or don't think he's an everyday player, maybe they can use one of those outfielders to go get that type player.
0-2. Look out, that goes pinwheeling down the right field line. If this was the hammer toss, Church would be the gold medal winner. Strikeout number 1 for John Smoltz.
Well, sometimes you get completely fooled on a pitch, and when you do that and you put that torque, sometimes you'll try to stop your swing when you get fooled. And when you do that, it puts a lot of torque on your fingers and your wrist, and that's the reason why some of these guys let go of these bats in that situation.
Here's Zimmerman. He's an historic player for the Nationals. First player scouted, drafted, signed as a Washington National, not a Montreal Expo. And a rapid riser through the ranks of their farm system.
Got drafted in June, and he's playing in the big leagues in September.
He debuted against the Braves down in Atlanta, jumped ahead in the count, 3 balls, no strikes, then struck out. They really like his power potential. They think he's going to be their third baseman for a long time once Vinny Castilla finally hangs him up for the Nationals. Rocket right center field deep. Andrew on his horse, can't get there. It's going to bounce over the fence for a rule book double, and that's a break. Guillen won't be able to score. Had it stayed in play, he would have. And they're at second and third with 1 out.
Boy, the ball jumped off his bat. He got a high fastball up and away. Odd thing about Zimmerman, he's already hit more home runs with a wood bat in pro ball than he hit in 3 years with an aluminum bat at Rutgers. Go figure.
It's like a very compact swing, and a good sign is that he's driving the ball the other way, so he can be possibly a good player for these guys for a long time.
Well, that brings up Brian Schneider, the catcher, one of the most dangerous hitters in the league, and they're having trouble keeping the pine tar on the glove and the bat. That's second thrown bat in this inning. Strike 1 to Schneider.
John Smoltz will do that to you also, won't he, Ron?
Yes, he will. I've faced John many a times, and he's just, I mean, he throws so hard. He has such a good split and slider. You can just completely get fooled by him.
Tying runs in scoring position for Washington. To the right side, but foul. And now Smoltz has the catcher set up. And here's a spot where Smoltz would love to pick up strikeout number 2.
Schneider's really been struggling. Came out of the All-Star break very hot and then went cold again. 6 for 46, unlike him.
0-2 pitch. It's 1-2. Leadoff walk, a strikeout, a double. Puts him at second and third for the Nationals. They trail it by a 2-0 score.
How much does catching, I wonder how much catching affects your hitting throughout the season, because you got to worry about the pitching staff and then you got to worry about hitting.
There's the strikeout.
A very good point, and it may be that he is just worn out because Gary Bennett has spelled him a little bit behind the plate, but Schneider obviously a little slower bat than what we saw earlier in the year.
Right, catching again, squatting down behind that plate all season long in the middle of the summer has got to take its toll on you.
Now Leo Mazzoni's out for a chat here. You've got the slumping Christian Guzman in the shortstop spot. Ordinarily you'd say, okay, you can pitch around him and pitch to the pitcher, but Bergman's not going to hit. No. He's not going to pitch another inning. So I think what Leo said here is, look, you got to go after this guy because you're going to face Bird or Baerga or somebody like that coming off the bench.
Well, Bergman's come out, but if Guzman reaches, I doubt that Bergman's going to swing the bat.
Guzman hitting .202. And a quick strike. 0-1 your count.
Right, and you know this makes you look even better, Joe. I mean, now we feel like that we're in the 9th inning or 8th inning with all the strategy going on, and we're early in the ball game. So that just goes to show you were right about not starting Halama.
And they've got another guy in their bullpen now throwing Travis Hughes, who was also a candidate to start. And instead of Halama, it is Hughes loosening up in case they pinch hit.
Right, it's almost like we're playing the game backwards. Right?
It's very, very accurate there. It is a little backwards.
Chopper towards second. Giles is there, and the Nationals continue to stagger offensively.
Fans tonight, TNT presents the NBA Players Hurricane Relief Game as the NBA's biggest stars come out to support the victims of Hurricane Katrina. Don't miss Kobe, LeBron, and the game's greatest players as they do their part to join in the healing and give you an opportunity to give as well. That's tonight at 11 o'clock p.m. only on TNT.
2-0 your score. We head to our third inning. Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, Adam LaRoche are coming on against 26-year-old right-hander Travis Hughes out of Newton, Kansas. And he was the closer at AAA for the New Orleans club.
So this game's getting more and more backwards.
Yes. Oh, and 1 the count to Chipper Jones. Pulls it to the right side. And Rick Short makes short work of Chipper Jones. 1 away. They pitched around Andrew last time. Bases clear. He'll see something to hit, you hope.
Mostly a pull hitter, but both of his hits yesterday were to right field. His home run and his single off of Livan Hernandez took him the other way.
47 home runs for Andrew Jones. That ties a Braves single season record. Eddie Matthews and Henry Aaron also hit 47 home runs in different seasons while with the Braves. Aaron did it in '71, Eddie Matthews in 1953. Swing, and there's a drive, and that's a record setter, I believe. Long gone by Andrew Jones. That was a vapor trail, folks.
Man, oh man, that's his 4th in 4 straight games against the Washington Nationals. He's wearing them out like Ian does the Braves. No doubt about this one, huh, Ron?
He is seeing the ball like a beach ball. And the reason why is if you look at that front foot, it's already down when the pitch is on its way. Last year, he was still trying to stride towards the pitcher as the ball was coming in, and his foot wouldn't get down in time enough. And it is now, and his head still, and he's just seeing the ball like a grapefruit.
So Andruw Jones, a new franchise record, his 48th home run, and it's a 3-0 Atlanta lead for Adam LaRoche.
You know, guys go through periods where they're not hitting well, and it's because they're jumping at the ball. Their stride's too long, and once you start doing that, the fastball gets on you quicker, so you start jumping at it, and that's where Adam LaRoche is right now. Like I said earlier, I talked to Terry Pendleton earlier today, and he was talking about Adam's front foot getting down in time. He's too long with it. He sat down and watched tape and figured out, you know, I have got to get that front foot down in time so I can see the baseball. When it's not down in time, your head's still moving, you're still going towards the ball, and you start struggling.
2 balls, 2 strikes.
Too many parts moving at the same time.
Right, he's late right there. He's got either cut down a little bit on his stride and get that front foot down in time, or he's just going to have to spread out just a little bit so he can cut his stride down.
Inside corner, that was nasty. 2 outs. As we remember September 11th, the Braves reflect on what it was like to play that first game back in New York. That's coming up. Our part 2, September 11th remembrance today from RFK Stadium. Here's Jeff Francoeur. He flying to right his first time up. And that one lined to short. At second, he makes the play. Andruw Jones, a record-setting home run, makes it a 3-0 score. Again, the Braves reflect on the memories of September 11th, 2001.
That night at Shea Stadium, when they had the ceremony, it was very, very emotional.
That was more of the starting of a healing process.
Chill bones up and down your spine the whole game.
Just going out there playing for the fans at that time, that's what mattered.
I'm not from this country, but I was ready to cry. Even the people of New York, as much as they love to razz me, I can't tell you how many times I heard, Chipper, we're giving you a reprieve for one day.
That day was very, very special just because so many things happened. We came back and played that day in New York.
You know, the Mets did a great thing. That was a staging area out at Shea Stadium. Bobby Valentine very involved in all the loading and unloading of supplies and medical needs. They did great work, the Mets.
Brandon Watson's going to pinch hit for Hughes. He's going to try to split the gap in left center. He can't. Ryan Langerhans tracked it down. 1 pitch, 1 out in the Washington third.
Well, we talked about his offense, but on the defensive side, like I said before, we say you play both sides of the ball, and he's doing that very well. He's got great speed. He gets good jumps on the ball out there, and not too much can get in between Andruw and Ryan when they're out there.
No, sir.
And Francoeur and Wright, I mean, this might be the best trio of Braves outfielders they've been able to play consistently all year.
Well, I think that might be the biggest reason why the Braves are in first place this year is because of their defense. They're one of the top in the National League and all of baseball.
You'd be hard-pressed to find 3 outfielders better anywhere than these guys.
Here's Wilkerson. He takes a strike. And remember how the season started? Brian Jordan in left, Raul Mondesi in right for the Braves. Brian got hurt. Mondesi was released. And that's allowed the kids to come up and flourish. Fly ball center field, but right at Andruw Jones. He'll make that play. 3 pitches, 2 outs, Mark Fine.
Well, we wanted to show you some more long ball, Chip. Red Sox Yankees. Jason Giambi does it again. 29 on the season for him. 4 of them coming against the Red Sox. It's 1-0. Bottom of the third. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mark. Yankees are 4 games behind Boston in the Eastern Division. And the Yankees a game and a half behind the Indians for the American League wild card. Got some work to do. That Tribe team's good. Rick Short pops it up. Should be a 4-pitch inning for John Smoltz. And it is 3 and out go the Nationals. We go to the 4th. Atlanta 3-0 the lead. Back at RFK Stadium in our nation's capital. Beautiful look at the Lincoln Memorial. Just a few miles away from the ballpark this afternoon. Boy, the tourist trade's been very, very busy this weekend. A big weekend plan, not just sporting wise, but all up and down the Washington Mall area.
Hundreds of thousands of people there today.
And a lot of Braves fans here hoping Atlanta can trim that magic number ever further in the Eastern Division race. Atlanta leads by 3, and Ryan Langerhans will start things off against who I'm sure we'll see the very aggressively pitching left-hander John Halama.
If he's smart, he'll be aggressive if he wants to finish the inning.
Yes. Halama misses down and in. 1 ball, no strikes. Halama was originally a Houston Astros farmhand. They traded him, Freddie Garcia, Carlos Guillen to Seattle to get Randy Johnson. And Halama had a couple of real good years with the Mariners. But Ronnie, what's happened to him?
I think one thing is velocity. I mean, he tops out at 84, maybe 85 miles an hour, and he throws a changeup, which isn't too far off his fastball. So you got to, in Major League Baseball, to these hitters, you have got to change speeds, and you got to change speeds well and hit locations. And if your changeup and your fastball is not that far off from each other, then you're not going to fool too many people.
2-0 pitch. Looped over first. That'll drop in safely for at least 1. Ryan's thinking about 2. He's going to wisely put on the brakes. Look at Guillen's hustle. Ball deflects away, but not far enough. Guillen playing way around toward right center, had to really hustle to get to that ball, and his good work kept Langerhans at first.
Well, this is a little bit of the Jeff Francoeur theory with other teams. It's not so much what kind of throw he might make, but what he's capable of making, and that's what it is with Guillen too. He has a very strong arm, and while he threw this one a little bit over the head of Guzman, it was what he might do, and that's why Ryan had to throw on the brakes.
So here's McCann. Nobody up yet in the bullpen. Halama has given up a hit, however. McCann fly to left. His first time up. That's a strike. Washington's off tomorrow, and they'll move on up to New York. They have a real nasty road trip coming up. How about the scheduling on this one, fellas?
Not good.
Bouncing ball through the whole right side. 2 lefties up, 2 hitters on. And Langerhans will stop at second. Washington will go to New York. Then they have to go to San Diego for a 3-game series and come right back.
This time of year to be playing against the Western Division in any shape, form, or fashion is kind of odd, because the Braves on their next homestand have a 3-game series with Colorado.
Right.
And then I think the Mets end their season at home with Colorado.
A balanced schedule, huh?
Yeah.
Here's Smoltz. He'll try to lay down a sacrifice here. He's got 9 of those. He struck out looking his first time up. And here's the left-hander I think John's been looking for.
Yeah, that's why he's got his hand on his hip. He's a little upset that he's going to have to bunt. He really want to go up there and hack away at Halama.
So, what could the Nationals be talking about right now? They know John Smoltz is possible of swinging the bat and putting the ball in play. Or are they just talking about what play they're going to run on the bunt?
If I were Schneider, and I don't know if that's what they're discussing, but I'd think about trying to get the trailing runner. McCann's a slow runner. Forget about Langerhans. Maybe we can get the runner at second and turn it into a double play if it's a bad bunt.
All right, it makes a lot of sense.
Halama stretching, and Smoltz fouls it at the plate. The other thing you have to be careful of, and we saw it back home, pitcher bunts, misses. Sometimes the runner at second base will take an extra step toward third. You can throw behind him and pick him off there. So,
well, McCann is smart. With Johnson kind of creeping in, he can extend his lead a little bit and get a head start to second base, and he needs to do that.
Yeah, and Chip, what you're talking about, it's hard for that runner at second base, especially during a day game when you got all the glare off the shirts in the stands. It's kind of hard to see that the pitcher has missed that ball.
That'll drive you crazy. You put a play on. They had the wheel play on in this case where Guzman was racing over to cover third, and your pitcher doesn't throw a strike. The whole key to it is making the guy bunt the ball.
One ball, one strike. Snap throw back through. That's the play of which I was speaking a few moments ago, but Ryan got back easily. 2 balls and a strike to Smoltz.
Was it against Washington that Hollingsworth got picked off in a similar situation?
Yes, it was.
At home?
It was late in the ball game, too, I believe.
Yeah. Can't wander too far away from the bases with Schneider.
That was the 7th inning of game 2. Washington beat the Braves that day 4-3. Inside to the pitcher, 3 balls and a strike. He's trying to give you an out, John, and the Braves pitcher in the driver's seat here.
How about a hit and run?
Why not?
You're up 3-0. This guy's not that overpowering. He's going to groove one because he doesn't want to risk walking, John. Hit and run. Put it in play.
Look at the outfield depths, too. He's going to bunt. And he lays it down to Zimmerman at third. Only one play, and Smoltz's sacrifice moves the runners 90 feet closer to the plate.
Good job by John. And now time for today's Aflac trivia question. Thank you. How many 100-plus strikeout seasons did Hank Aaron have? In other words, how many seasons did he strike out 100 or more times? Don't guess real high.
I was going to say, I'm sure there are a lot of fans who are surprised that Henry Aaron, who had 755 home runs, never hit more than 50 in a season. I'll bet you that's not a duck egg, but a goose egg for an answer.
Yeah, don't go with Reggie Jackson type numbers.
No. Here's for call. He'll bat right-handed with second and third. 1 out, infield in for the Nationals. And that's a little low. 1 ball, no strikes.
Your point earlier, Ron, was a good one about Halama with respect to his pitches not having that great a difference in speed. So he's got to be really sharp control-wise.
Really careful, yeah. He's got to hit the corners, pitch down in the strike zone, because if there's anything in the middle of the plate, it's going to get hit hard.
Ball 2, 2-0. And you'd say, okay, we'll put him in the bullpen. Doesn't look like he gets ahead of enough hitters to pitch out of the bullpen.
Got it, no strikes.
3-0 Braves, trying to make it a real big early afternoon. Swing and a fly ball hit toward left. Church on the run. He's got it. Langerhans will tag. He's going to score. The throw wisely comes into third. For call drives home his 54th man, and it's 4-0.
Ron, you've been in the playoffs a lot. Talk about how these type situations are so critical when you get in the postseason. You don't have to have big innings, but when you get a chance to get 1 run, make sure you get that 1 run.
Everything in the playoffs, when it comes that time, everything's magnified. The scouting reports, how they're going to pitch you, it's detailed to the T. And these guys, I mean, usually in playoff games, it's going to be close games. So every advantage you can take, you have to take advantage of it.
Here's Giles with 2 outs. And that's a little low. 1 ball, no strikes. Again, the top 4 hitters in the Braves lineup have scored 3 of the 4 runs. And Joe was mentioning earlier he'd like to see some guys in the bottom half of the lineup contributing. Frank Coor has yet to get a hit, but Langerhans 1 for 2 with a run. Brian McCann with a single and 2 trips.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the same 2 guys every day. Just a couple. Just a couple guys help the guys at the top of the order so that you turn the order over quicker to get back to those guys.
1 ball, 1 strike. Fly ball right center field. Well hit. Wilkerson on the run. That ball can't be caught. It's going to roll to the fence. McCann's going to score. Giles with a 2-out double. It's 5-0.
Wilkerson's not the fastest guy on this ball club, even though he's the leadoff hitter. Chip talked about it earlier. He's not the prototypical leadoff man. But I think he thought he was going to catch this ball and run it down. Trouble was it was slicing away from him, and he didn't know it.
Well, you talk about the guys at the top of this order now. 1 through 5 hitters all have RBIs now. And you talk about the bottom of the order, Langerhans with a single and McCann with a single there. And like you said, Joe, they've turned that order over, and now they've all driven in runs.
Well, a little progress for John Halama. He gets 2 guys out in an inning that he pitches.
God, you're
gives
vicious.
up a couple more runs. It's 5-0, and to Mark Fine we go in our Atlanta studios.
All right, thanks very much, Chip. As the Nationals seem to fall out of the wild card chase, we're going to check in on a couple of teams that are very much in it. Florida half a game behind Houston for the wild card. Philadelphia 2.5 back. That's Carlos Delgado. It's his 3rd triple of the year. That ties a career high for him. Drives in a run as well in the bottom of the 2nd. Florida up 1-0 on Philly. We'll keep you posted. More Braves after a quick timeout. Keep it here.
Well, our friends at Google give you a good idea of where we are. Right there. O marks the spot. RFK Stadium in our nation's capital, and the Braves have enjoyed what they've seen. 5-0, the 4th inning lead. And now a big, tall drink of water is going to face him. The tallest player in the history of the game, 6'11" John Roush is on. I'll bet this is fun.
I mean, it looks like he's just like, 40 feet from the plate. I mean, I would hate to have to hit off a guy like this. Just take like a Randy Johnson, for instance. When his arm comes at you, it looks like he can touch you.
This guy's not skinny either. He weighs 260. Came over from the White Sox with Gary Majeski, one of their best relief pitchers for Carl Everett last year. He's battled some arm problems, but they're counting on him to be in their rotation next year.
Upstairs, ball 1 to Chipper Jones, who had a 1st inning RBI double. Ripped back and out of play. You faced Randy, I'm sure, didn't you?
Yeah, too many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's, just to be that tall and throw that hard. I mean, just seeing him walk out on the mound was intimidating.
Well, this guy doesn't throw as hard as Randy Johnson. That fastball at 91 miles an hour. Is he still at this stage, guys? 26, able to get stronger, throw the ball harder, or is he just intimidating because he's so tall and so big on the mound? John Roush.
I think his leverage ought to give him an advantage, not necessarily his velocity, but being able to come over the top and have a real severe angle on his pitches.
There's a pretty good example of it right there. He froze Chipper Jones. Braves get 2 more, however, in the 4th inning. John Smoltz has a big lead, and Nick Johnson takes a big fastball for a strike. He bounced out to 2nd, ending the 1st inning for Washington. That one hammered toward left. Langerhans broke in, now goes back in a big hurry and makes the play. 1 down. That ball fooled him for a moment, didn't it?
Well, it's great adjustments. Another great play by a good outfielder. The ball was going to slice toward the line, but Ryan, fighting the sun too, broke the wrong way. So now he's got not only to go back, but he's got to go to his left so that he's got an angle to catch the ball, and stayed with it. Outstanding play.
And another thing is, too, a lot of times when a ball gets hit like that to a left fielder, he'll have a tendency to spin around. And he didn't. He stayed going in one direction, never did spin around and take his eyes off the ball, and that's why he had a beat on it.
Guillen jumps on the first pitch. That'll be an easy fly ball to right.
Easy inning so far for John, and now we'll give you the answer to today's Aflac trivia question, which was, how many 100 strikeout seasons did Hank Aaron have? None was right, Chip. His high was 97 in 1967. Amazing.
Yeah, these days 97's a good 4 months for a lot of the big home run hitters in baseball. Here's Church. He struck out his first time up. And the Nationals, down 5 runs, have not forced John into a lot of big pitch innings in this game, have they?
Marcus Giles has 97 strikeouts right now.
Another fly ball to left, and John Smoltz, with 37 pitches, is through 4 innings in today's game.
They should have walked him again. They should have walked him again. And you signed, I'll sell it. No.
Andrews had himself a whale of a series. He's been on base 8 times in 10 plate appearances. 3 home runs. 6 RBIs. And Roush drops in a breaking pitch for a strike. It's 0-1.
Julio is wanting to be his agent for memorabilia sales on the record-setting homer.
Who wouldn't be? He's going to hit 50 or more. And taking nothing away from the Philadelphia Phillies pitching staff, whom the Braves will face next. But Citizens Bank Park is a home run hitter's paradise, and that's where Atlanta goes next.
Andrews, 7 homers, 21 RBIs for the year against Washington.
That's toward third. Zimmerman, good pickup and a perfect throw. 1 down.
5 homers and 13 RBIs against him in his last 6 games. Fans, join Major League Baseball in support of the American Red Cross Relief Fund and help those affected by Hurricane Katrina. And you can do it by calling 1-800-HELP-NOW or go online at www.redcross.org. Or you can also go to MLB.com to see how you can help.
Here's Adam LaRoche, a sacrifice fly in the first inning. He also struck out in the third. Pitching matchups for that Phillies series tomorrow night. Tim Hudson against Uday Brito. Vicente Padilla apparently scratched for the Phillies. John Thompson, Gavin Floyd will hook up Tuesday. Wednesday, Horacio Ramirez and Corey Lytle, and then Thursday, Jorge Sosa and Brett Myers. We'll have that one for you on TBS. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Yeah, I understand Uday's brother Bean was having a good year in AAA.
Couldn't resist, could you?
No.
Uday or Weeday, E-U-D-E is how you spell it, is going to pitch tomorrow night. Down on strikes is LaRoche. He's 0-2. His struggles continue.
Roush
6
looks
for his
good.
last 56, and you're right, Roush has good stuff.
Look at how Jeff has spaced his hits. A lot of hits down the right field line. He's done a good job of taking pitches that way. Odd that he doesn't have many to center, huh?
How does that happen? Way upstairs from Roush.
Of course, those 6 are probably those blasts to right center that have all been home runs too.
.328 Jeff's batting average. Ball 2-0.
And you can tell by the way the Nationals defense is set up, they don't really know how to play him. You got the left fielder pretty much straight up. The center fielder's on the right side of the bag, and the right fielder over, so leaves a big gap in left center.
Francoeur flies to right.
Braves TBS Extra, brought to you by Allstate. Are you in good hands? And by Coca-Cola Classic. Make it real.
Ryan Zimmerman has a double. That's the only Washington hit in this game. This time he pops it up shallow right. Giles out. Francoeur calls him off. Good communication. And again, an easy start for John Smoltz. Our copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Commissioner of Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of our game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
We all know John Smoltz pretty well, and one of the things that he may be doing right now is experimenting a little bit. He's got a 5-run lead. He's kind of cruising with early outs in an at-bat. He told me a couple of days ago one of the things he's trying to do to try to save a little wear and tear so that he's fresher in the postseason is to just let his body do the work. Don't try to hump up on any fastballs to really try to blow it by people. Just try to be smooth with it.
And I would say, too, guys, in a ballpark as big as this, you try to pitch to contact. Let him hit the ball.
He made that point a couple of days ago, and the Braves blew that lead against Washington and gave up the 4 in the 8th, and it was all highlighted by 2 leadoff walks given up by Kyle Davies. He said, in this ballpark, you know, don't try to go for strikeouts. Just try to get some ground balls, get contact, have them put them in play against a very good defense.
And right now, looks like every hitter that's come up there, he's throwing the first pitch strike, even the second pitch strike. I mean, he's just going right at the strike zone.
6 straight fly ball or pop-up outs.
And 10 in a row overall retired. He's thrown 41 pitches. Guzman takes a strike. And he's 0 for 1 in the game.
Actually, 8 in a row on fly ball outs.
Will it be 9 in a row? Langerhans on the run in the corner is there. He's got it. 42 pitches for Smoltz. 5 of them takes care of the Nats in the 5th.
I'm more patriotic now than I've ever been. You know, I think a lot of people in this country are after 9/11, as they should be.
There's always politics. There's always stuff that, you know, we tend to disagree on, but we all, you know, we come together with baseball.
We have to continue playing and send a good message.
It's a great outlet. It's something where people can get away kind of from reality for, you know, it might be only for about 2 or 3 hours.
People that were inspirational and instrumental in the recovery and in the process and the volunteer and in the defending of our nation will never be a part that I take for granted.
Plenty of heroes of September 11th, and I think all of Major League Baseball salutes them, salutes those who perished that day. And those acts of heroism will forever remain in our minds and hearts.
It's a little bit like what's going on down in the Gulf, too. You know, there's so much finger pointing going on. Can't we kind of get past that and get some things done to help people instead of trying to figure out whose fault it was, or blame this guy and that guy?
There's plenty of time to do that. Time to put on your work boots, put your fingers to good use. Don't point them. Grab a shovel, grab a hoe, grab your neighbor, help them fix what needs to be fixed, and then figure out what went wrong.
Right. I mean, I can't imagine. Can you imagine just losing everything in basically 2 days? Everything you've ever worked for and lived for is gone. I mean, we take life for granted as human beings sometimes until things like that happen, and it's a shame that it takes something like that to happen to bring things back to perspective.
Mike Stanton's on to pitch. He's the 5th hurler of the day for Washington. Again, this is a bullpen game for their club. Jason Bergman started. Hughes, Halama, Roush, now Stanton. And Mike in his 26th game now with the Nationals.
Another reason Langerhand's having a good day today. A lot of pressure off him and Kelly Johnson today. Both big Texas Longhorn fans. Their horns rallied last night, so they were both feeling pretty chipper today.
Oklahoma came out okay yesterday. That's to the left side. Guzman, quick pick and flick. Got his man by a step. 1 down.
Pick and flick. I've seen your dad do that a lot.
It's a family specialty. Here's McCann. That's uncalled for. The man's not in the same booth to defend himself. McCann 1 for 2 with a run score, but you just couldn't stop yourself, could you?
I just thought it was a very good term.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've seen him down on the field taking ground balls before.
He does that a lot. Toss across, too. 5-0 is the score. Strike 1. Dad was pretty excited yesterday. We had a nice and a very special occasion yesterday. I had a chance to go on a West Wing tour of the White House.
That was awesome.
Jeff Hopek led a contingent of us, including General Manager John Sherholtz, Assistant GM Frank Wren, Pete, Joe, my dad, my wife Susan, daughter Summerlin, and I got to go into the West Wing of the White House, see the First Lady's office, Oval Office, Cabinet Building, Roosevelt Room. Just awesome. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
It was really a treat.
But the highlight, we have to admit, of the day was not seeing the Teddy Roosevelt Nobel Peace Prize or the Cabinet Room, any of that stuff. Line toward left and in for a hit. McCann 2 for 3 today. As you know, our crew very much a sporting-minded group. The highlight of our tour was a chance for Joe Simpson to roll a couple of balls down the presidential bowling alley. My daughter Summerlin grabbed the first ball and, you know, just kind of guided it down the lane. She knocked down one pin, and then as Summerlin said, well, can I roll again? And I looked at Joe, and Joe's eyes just got big. And
I kind of boxed her out, didn't I?
Said,
yeah.
No, let Mr. Simpson go. Okay. So Joe went over as Smoltz lays down another beautiful bunt. Stanton makes the play for out number 2. So Joe, reliving the heroics of the infamous Bolero Bowling Tournament up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, did what?
I got the spare. I picked it up. Poor Summerlin. She's probably over in a corner crying after I just kind of knocked her out of the way to make sure I got to throw one.
Well, you know what? I'll get on my camera phone. I don't know if we can get the camera.
No, it's okay. No, it was all right. It's okay. But it was a nice, it was pretty cool. It's down underneath the north lawn, actually, of the White House, but very nice bowling alley, complete with pin setters, automatic scoring machine. It was very nice.
You think Mr. Bush could let us have the tournament there next year?
Bolero at the White House. I think it has a good ring to it.
Let's see if I can find this photo here for our viewing audience. It's the finish that was so classic for Mr. Simpson. I don't know if our camera can get a shot of that. May not be. Furcal bounces hard through the legs of Short at second. McCann around third is going to score without a throw. Another 2-out run. This one a gift, however, on E4 by Rick Short. So the Braves' sacrifice leads to a run, and this is the point the guys were talking about earlier. When you're given a chance to score runs in situations like this, you got to find a way to do it, and the Braves have.
That ball was smoked too. Not that Short shouldn't have caught it. He should have, but it really skipped off the dirt.
And Rafi's really taking some aggressives, but he's staying within himself, and you know, that ball's up and away, and he just drives it to that right side, and that's a tough play for a second baseman. Trust me, I've been over there and played second before, and it's not that easy.
That's right.
So the Braves have a 6-run lead, and Marcus Giles the hitter, and that one back to the screen.
Good play by Chipper on that. Ricochet off the screen, handed the ball to a fan after catching it. It's a lot better than that one that Giles smoked at his head earlier.
Yeah, he's going to start taking his swings in the dugout.
Mm-hmm. Marcus's double helped him get some things turned around. He was just 1 for his last 14, but he hit that ball hard to right center his last time up.
Big breaking ball missed. 2 balls and a strike. Having a few technical issues. Those of you at home, don't panic. We're trying to find a way to get these.
No, it's okay. It really was. It's okay.
Pulled foul past third.
Seeing me bowl on the White House bowling lane was not exactly why they tuned in today, I don't think, but it's okay. You're undeterred, are you?
There's no question about it. Man on a mission.
Braves have gotten through to everybody today except John Roush, who's pretty good. Inning in the third, no hits or runs or walks, struck out 2.
Well, this situation right here, if Giles hits it anywhere in the gap, even a long single, Rafi can possibly score from first base because he's going to be running on this pitch.
There he goes. And it's back to the screen again. 6-0 Atlanta trying to win another series against the Nationals. Everybody in town thought, correctly so, that this road trip would be the deciding factor for Atlanta. The good news for the Braves is the Nationals have run out of gas before they got to town. Phillies might be suffering the same fate. They've lost 6 of 10. Grounded deep hole short. Guzman, quick release. And the toss across in plenty of time retires the side. Braves get an unearned run and lead by 6.
Braves TBS Extra, brought to you by the Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. And by Coca-Cola Classic. Make it real.
Another beautiful sight in our nation's capital. 6-0 is the score as we head to the last of the 6th. Supreme Court building's been an awfully busy place this past week. Passing of former Chief Justice William Rehnquist, or I guess Chief Justice William Rehnquist. And the confirmation hearings for John Roberts are going to get started sometime this upcoming week. And Kenny Kelly, who began the year with the Reds, now finds himself with Washington. Will pinch hit in the 6th inning. 6-0, Atlanta's in front. And out of play, foul, a ball and 2 strikes.
Terrific athlete here, former quarterback for the University of Miami Hurricane. Good outfielder. Just a matter of whether or not he can hit enough to stay in the big leagues.
Slider takes care of him. That's 12 straight men retired by Smoltz. His 3rd strikeout, and he's closing in on Jerry Koosman.
Time now for the know-how question of the game, built by the Home Depot. It comes from Stan Stolniker, who wants to know, what does a pitcher do during a simulated game? And Mike Hampton, by the way, just activated for the Braves today, pitched in a simulated game about 3 days ago. And what they do is set up game-type conditions, Stan, where several Braves reserve players come out and hit against him. And they have an umpire, usually the catcher will be the umpire for the simulated game, keep track of balls and strikes. And after 3 outs, he usually goes over to the sideline, rests a little bit, goes back out like a normal game.
That's in for a strike to Wilkerson, who didn't think much of that. It's 0-2. Begs the question, what role do you think Mike Hampton's going to have for this club now?
Bullpen. I think he'd be great coming out of the bullpen with some matchups against left-handed hitters.
I have to agree. I don't know that Mike's, with all due respect to how hard he works, I don't know that he's in condition to be a starting pitcher and go 5 or 6 or 7 innings. And maybe he's best suited to come in and get 1 or 2 outs for you right now and give it all he's got.
I think Schilling took the right route on his way back. He went into the bullpen first, got some innings in, got some work in, and worked himself back into that starting rotation. I think that's how you have to do it. You're talking about the answer to that question, simulated games. It also helps players and hitters that don't get a chance to play, all your utility players. You get a simulated game, and they get to go out there and hit against live pitching is basically what the pitcher's doing. So it gives them some at-bats and reps and see some pitches.
And that's good for guys, especially like Pete Orr and Wilson Betterman. Andy Marte, I believe, was involved in that game the other day, too.
Right. Hollingsworth can stay fresh, see a left-handed pitcher.
John wants to know where that one was. It's full count. Payoff. Popped up.
There was one of those pitches that I was talking about earlier. John didn't try to fire one past Wilkerson. He's got a 6-0 lead. He just kind of nice, easy motion, laid it in there, and unfortunately he's got to throw another one because Wilkerson fouled it.
I wonder when or if John Smoltz has ever pitched as a major league starter into the 6th inning with just 53 pitches, or 54 now. With that
I'm
one
sure
out of
it'd
play.
be hard to find that.
High fly ball left. That'll be the 13th man in a row retired. And Mark Fine has an update for us in Atlanta.
All right, Chip, checking in on Florida and Philadelphia again. You know, Pat Burrell 0 for 4, stranding 8 base runners yesterday, making amends. 3-run jack. They're in the top of the 4th. Philadelphia up 6-1. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mark. I don't think the Braves would mind the Phillies winning that game today. Florida's hot on the Braves' tail. 6 back. Phillies 8 back. Washington 9.5 back.
Houston wouldn't mind it either.
Yeah. The Astros begin play today a half game in front in the wild card. Houston's in Milwaukee today. Roy Oswalt, Rick Helling.
1-0 Milwaukee there.
That one a towering shot deep left field. The park's not going to hold it. Rick Short has hit his 2nd home run. And nothing short about the distance on that blast. That went a long, long way.
I don't care if you're a Braves fan or not, you gotta be happy for this guy. 32 years old, never got to the big leagues until this season, and he's already hit 2 homers for the Nationals.
And you can see there, John Smoltz is saying, here, I'm going to throw it right down the middle. You can hit it as far as you want to. More times than none today, they popped the ball up, but he just centered that baseball, and it was a good swing, and he hit it out of the ballpark.
Here's Nick Johnson talking to some of the Washington people before the game today about Short. They said he doesn't really have a position. Well, sooner or later, if a guy hits 380, he hits 380. Don't you have to find a place for him to play, especially if you're struggling to score runs this year at the major league level?
I would think so. 2 homers and 9 at bats in the big leagues, not too shabby either for a start.
So Washington on the board. They trail 6-1 now. And Nick Johnson, the hitter, with 2 outs and the bases empty. Langerhans made a great running catch to rob him of a hit leading off the 4th inning. That one stroked to right center field. Will the park hold that? Back-to-back home runs.
Got a ball game.
Well, I'm sure that, coming into this ball game, the Nationals were thinking John Smoltz is going to get ahead of you with his fastball and throw that split finger and slider late in the count. But right now, early in the game, they were missing those pitches, popping them up and making outs on them. Now they're starting to hit them, and that's going to force John to kind of change his strategy a little bit.
Yeah, that easy motion that I was talking about might be time to get back into some of those snappy sliders he was throwing earlier.
Here's Guillen, 2 in, 2 out. And there's a nasty pitch over the inside corner. 6-2 now. Braves are in front with 3 innings left to play at RFK. Inside corner. Guillen thought it was down and in. And now he's starting to point his finger at Field and Combra. And he's very close to getting the axe here.
They're getting back in the ball game. They can't afford to lose him.
And Combra says, get back in the box.
Had some tailing action on it, but I didn't see a lot of argument.
That's a pretty good pitch.
Yeah.
And, Chip, I think it goes back to what you were saying. I think they played, 20 or 21 games in the last 21 days. And a lot of that is just frustration. They're kind of slipping back in the standings and they're kind of falling out of this thing, and it's just they're getting frustrated.
Guillen swings and misses a breaking ball by 2 feet, and Smoltz is out of the 6th inning.
I think it's going to be Houston. They've definitely got the pitching. I think it's going to be Philadelphia. They've had a really strong season all year.
I think it's going to be the Houston Astros. I don't see how you can count them out.
Washington.
I think it's going to be the Houston Astros just because they've got great starting pitching.
Marlins, because I love Dontrell Willis and I think that they're going to be able to make it.
It's going to be the Astros, and it's because of pitching, and that's the name of that tune.
I know.
I think the last kid was right. I don't know either. It's too close to call for 3 weeks to play. Houston and Florida seemingly the overwhelming favorites. And if Florida gets in, that might not be good news for the rest of the National League, because every time they win the wild card, they win the World Series. They're a perfect 2 for 2.
Well, you know, you look at those standings, and those first 2 teams, they're the teams that have the best pitching. You can't count the Florida Marlins pitch starting staff out either. Those guys can really chunk the ball.
They've got Todd Jones at the end, who's had a marvelous year as the Florida closer. As Dale Rasner comes on, he's a starting pitcher, working out of the pen today and into the 7th for the Nationals.
Well, they still hadn't moved that foul pole down there in left field.
Nope, they haven't.
It's a fair pole now because it's in fair territory.
Well, they haven't, and they haven't painted the base of it yellow to make it easier for the umpires either. Foul back and out of play. I think they did, however, move the 380 signs. Remember, they were on the other sides of the advertisements in left and right center.
Yeah, you're right. They did move them. I wonder if it was after those writers came out here and found out they were mismarked.
Yeah, by quite a bit.
All right, that home run, well, it wasn't called a home run by Brian Jordan. Should have been a home run.
Yeah.
What do you get? I mean, that's another topic. What do you think about instant replay? Do you think there will ever be instant replay in baseball?
2-2 pitch. Fly ball, center field. Not much carried to it. Church comes over, and the left fielder makes the play, 1 out.
I don't. I would not be in favor of it.
Well, what I mean, if
even in postseason play, home run call,
right, you know,
World Series deciding play,
right? Say each team gets one replay per game, and you know, you say it's going to take more time. Well, it takes more time when the umpire and the manager actually get into an argument over the call.
Oh, yeah.
So by the time they're done with the argument, you could have looked at the replay anyway. I think
happen.
The thing is, you got to get it right.
I think eventually it will happen. I vote no right now.
But just think of the possibilities like the NFL. If a manager comes and challenges the umpire's call, instant replay backs up the umpire's call, the other manager could say, okay, he can't use that reliever today. Just think of the strategy.
Well, it also has to be just
create.
on calls. You can't do it
Judgment
on the strike
stuff.
zone and that kind of thing. So.
I think it's coming.
Interesting.
And I think the key is, the bottom line is, the umpires 90% of the time, much more than 90% of the time, get the calls right. Sometimes they don't. Bad calls are a part of the game. I mean, you remember the St. Louis, Kansas City World Series, the Don Denkinger non-call at first base. Right. Jeffrey Mayer against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, etc., or against the Orioles.
And those are plays that have turned around the whole series.
I would say for home runs, okay.
Right. That's where I draw the line.
Solo for just home runs, but if it comes down to any type of ball down the line, whether it hit the line or not, as a fair or foul ball, I don't think so.
Pulled foul pass third.
The big thing is the time of games. The umpires have gotten together this year, and they were talking about the time of games, and they want to keep the game flowing and keep them as going as quick as possible. So that's one of the topics they would have to address.
I've got a thought on that too. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And out of play, foul again from Andrew. You ask the fans who come to the ballpark, do you ever hear a fan complain about the time of game? Wow, I spent too much time at the ballpark.
Yeah, I have not.
I mean, I understand it from advertising, TV, and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, hate to say that, we're not the most important people at the ballpark. Those people are.
Right. They just know who won and who lost.
If it's a good 2-hour game or a good 4-hour game, it's still a good game to them. Good play at third. Retires Andrew Jones. 2 outs.
Once again, fans, a reminder that tonight TNT presents the NBA Players Hurricane Relief Game as the NBA's biggest stars come out to support the victims of Hurricane Katrina. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and others will be joining together to help in the healing and give you an opportunity to give as well. Tonight at 11 o'clock, only on TNT.
Adam LaRoche 0 for 2 with a sac fly and an RBI. Broke his bat. That one might drop. Guillen, though, is going to outrun it, and he'll get there in time. We stretch at RFK Stadium. 6-2, Atlanta the lead. Beautiful look at the Capitol and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in our nation's capital over at Arlington Memorial Cemetery. Well, that's an amazing sight, too, to see the changing of the guard. And on this date in Braves history, 1991, playing in Atlanta, the Braves won a 1-0 victory over the San Diego Padres. What made that date so special? Kent Merker, Mark Wohlers, and Alejandro Pena all combined to throw a no-hitter that day. The first combined no-hitter in the history of the National League. Ernie Johnson Sr. was at the microphone that day, and the Braves beat the Padres 1-0.
You know, I was playing in that game, and I just kept wondering how in the world did they get Tony Gwynn out 4 times during the game.
Well, yeah.
Anytime that happens, it's a major event.
Absolutely. I mean, just one of the best hitters you'd ever see. And, I mean, to hold him to no hits was just something special. I mean, those guys you were scared to sit by him in the dugout. You didn't want to say anything to him to jinx him. So
let me ask you
a special game.
About that team that year, Ron. I was there part-time working with Ernie on Sports South at the time, and when did you guys start to think, we're really going to win this thing? I mean, you were hopelessly back seemingly at the All-Star break, came back, made up a lot of ground after the break. I remember that part. But when did you guys really believe this is for real?
Right. The second half of the season, it seemed like we just caught on fire. And, you know, these other teams started losing games. And we started taking advantage of every loss that those teams had. We won. And, you know, once you get that feeling, it's like a snowball effect. You just roll with it, and it's just all downhill. You just get bigger and bigger.
Church swings through that, and he's quickly down 2 strikes. But I mean, for young players, young teams that hadn't won before, that had to be, I mean, did you think, are we really in this, or are we just talking ourselves into believing that we're in it?
It was hard to believe at times, but you build that belief with each win. And you know, that's exactly what we did. Every time we won and that other team lost, we just felt like we couldn't lose.
Church rolls out. He's 0 for 3 today.
That might be something that you kind of compare to Washington right now. It's been kind of a Cinderella story for them this year, and they've got some veteran players. But now it became crunch time. It became reality, and they can't sustain anything. This homestand, for example, if they lose today, they'll go 4-6 on a homestand against Philadelphia, Florida, and Atlanta. 3 teams that they had to make up some ground on, and they haven't been able to.
And the second half for the Nationals, 11 wins, and if they lose this one, 22 losses at home in their last 33 games.
After being just red hot here early.
One of the best, yeah, in baseball. Here's Zimmerman. He has one of their 3 hits. In fact, all 3 hits for the Nationals for extra bases in this game. They trail, though, 6-2, as you see. And a strike evens the count, a ball and a strike.
Yeah, it's safe to say that they have picked a bad time to go into a bad spell.
And so they have hope, but it's a flickering candle in a big windstorm right now. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Zimmerman.
Right, and I'm sure they're gonna, you know, if they do lose this ball game today, they're gonna look back on this series and say, hey, we should have won that series. We didn't, and that's what put us under.
And it might have been one game that turned their fortunes around. That's the game in Atlanta where Andrew won it in extra innings, that home run.
Yeah.
If they win that game, it's a 2-game swing, not just for the wild card race, but the division race too.
And I believe that's a game. Well, that series actually is a series that Andrew said that when we go home and play Washington, they will not beat us at home, and he took that on his shoulders and made it come true.
That's pretty much what he's done against Washington all year long.
Zimmerman's down on strikes. That strikeout for Smoltz ties him with Jerry Koosman for 24th on the all-time list. 2,556 career strikeouts for John Smoltz.
The loss the Braves suffered Friday night snapped a streak of games where 76 straight times with a lead of 4 or more that held on to win. And that lead right now, after leading 6-0, is 6-2, so that you know the Braves don't want to have that happen again 2 out of 3 days.
And next up for John, Bob Feller. He might catch him this year. Same with Warren Spahn.
That'd be pretty cool just to say anyway. Yeah, pass Bob Feller in anything on the highway, you know.
That too. Well, he was Rapid Robert.
Yes, he was.
Schneider 0 for 2 in the game. He's struck out. He's flying out. 2 solo homers for the Nationals in the 6th. All that John Smoltz has allowed today. That one skied to left. Long run, Langerhans. Ryan's there and has it. And Smoltz cruises through the 7th in order.
Mark 5 back in our Atlanta studios. You have been voting all day at AtlantaBraves.com for what music you wanted to hear with today's Highlight Extreme. The winner, Lee Greenwood. Enjoy.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. But I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Look at that sweet face. Pretty little girl at the ballpark today. And she's been wearing out the cotton candy roll. Look at that.
I don't think she cares who wins and loses. You?
You get to drive her home after the game, Ron. Good luck. Gary Majeski's going to come on to pitch the 8th inning for the Nationals. Are we home yet, Dad? Are we home yet? Are we home yet?
Yeah. Meanwhile, cotton candy's all over the seats and everything.
Oh, man, that's great. Great to see the kids out on a weekend Sunday here in D.C. Brad Coor swings late. He's 0 for 3 today.
Good crowd today, too, even with the Redskins kicking off today, starting their season, 31,834. They're averaging over 33,000 a date.
To the right side, convenient hop for short at second. And there's out number 1.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great baseball city. They have a good ball club. They're definitely headed in the right direction. And once they get a stadium put in here for this baseball team, it could be big.
Well, that's something else they've got to address. They've got to get the ownership situation straightened out. Major League Baseball has dragged their feet on that. They said they'd have an owner named around Labor Day. We've certainly passed that date. But they're not going to start a new stadium until they have the ownership situation settled.
Well, there's a little matter of price. I mean, you got, I'm sure Ron has a spare $450 million or so laying around the house that he
does.
Would like to be a major league owner.
Yeah, that's Monopoly money. I play Monopoly.
Yeah, but that's the other issue is what's the price going to be? Everyone says it's $450, but you've got to think, guys, as well as this team's played, and forget what happens this final 3-week period. If they make it, great, it's going to go up. If they don't make it, it's still going to go up because the fan interest is so good. They've built themselves a wonderfully successful niche market for baseball here.
Is this the 4th year Major League Baseball has operated this team?
I knew you were going to ask me. I think that's about right.
And let's face it, the previous 3 seasons was a drain. They weren't making any money in Montreal. So this year, all of a sudden, they're making some money, and it's like they're not in all this big a hurry to unload it, despite the price of the team.
Majeski takes care of Langerhans.
Join Major League Baseball in support of the American Red Cross Relief Fund and help those affected by Hurricane Katrina. And you can do that by calling 1-800-HELP-NOW. Or you can go online to redcross.org or MLB.com to see how you can help.
McCann 2 for 3 with a couple of runs scored today. I tell you what, you give these guys one more arm in that starting rotation, you give them a leadoff man. With this bullpen, they're going to be in it all year next year.
This guy on the mound now, part of that finishing trio, Ayala, Majeski, and Cordero have been outstanding all year long.
Isn't Stan Kasten in one of those groups that wants to buy this ball club? I think he has something to do with one of the groups.
Swing and a miss by McCann.
I think he's been very interested as part of one of the groups.
Stan was the president of the Braves at one time, and the Hawks, if I'm not mistaken.
And the Thrashers.
And Thrashers, yeah.
Instead of wearing 3 hats, they should have just gotten Stan with a big sombrero with a logo on each side and just spin it as he walked into each office, you know. But yes, Ron, he's part of the process up here in the nation's capital. He's very well connected, as we all know, with Major League Baseball. we'll see. We'll see who gets it. Whoever gets it's going to have a chance to have a very successful ball club. I think Marine One just went over the top of the ballpark. Presidential helicopter, or at least one of the three that circles around as they pick him up. 2-2 pitch, and down goes McCann. Majeski a spotless 8th. 6-2, Atlanta the lead.
Fans, don't forget TBS Saturday Night College Football presented by Orbitz returns next Saturday night. Tune in at 7 o'clock Eastern Time as Fresno State takes on Oregon. That's Big 12 and Pac-10 college football this fall on TBS. And Nebraska took care of business last night on TBS, taking out Wake Forest.
Braves fans happy today. Atlanta leading 6-2 as we head to the last of the 8th. The day is done for John Smoltz. 7 electric innings. Got a big lead, made it stand up. Just 2 runs, 3 hits allowed for John. He walked 1, struck out 5. That ties him with Jerry Koosman on the all-time Major League Baseball strikeout list. So Blaine Boyer now on for the 8th inning for Atlanta. Guzman, Marlon Byrd, and Wilkerson are scheduled.
I'm glad to see him working here in the 8th inning. He's been used a lot in the 6th, sometimes in the 7th, but with Chris Rietzma still nursing a hamstring strain, it's good to see him used in a role where he might eventually wind up.
He's got the attitude, and as you saw in those numbers, the aptitude. And given up much of anything in the last month plus.
Well, you know, if the Braves are going to go on into postseason and have a good postseason, they're going to have to. The one thing they're going to have to do is shore up that bullpen, and I think Boyer's going to be a big part of it.
I agree.
2-2 count, and it's full. 3 balls, 2 strikes. I said it at the time, and I'll say it now. Before it's all said and done, you hope the Braves don't miss Jay Powell. That was a big loss when Jay fractured his elbow. And Guzman earns a leadoff walk here in the 8th.
What was wrong with that pitch?
I think Fielden Culbreth was guessing ball. Must have been a little low. Boyer thought it was good enough. And that's one thing a youngster can't do. Walk people late. This game not close, but it could be with 1 swing from Marlon Byrd here.
That's what happened to Atlanta Friday night. Leadoff walks, 2 walks in the 8th inning, led to 4 runs.
But all of us with the Braves hope that the Jay's doing okay. He's coming back and at least resting a little more comfortably after the surgery to fix his arm. Don't know if he's ever going to pitch again. And he was here just a brief period of time, but his teammates and all of us thought the world of him.
Sure did. Did a great job.
1 ball, no strikes. And ball 2, 2-0.
Throw it down the middle, Blaine. Got a 4-run lead here. Worst Bird can make it is 6-4.
Three balls, no strikes. Braves don't want to, but they're going to get that bullpen busy again.
He's getting visits from LaRoche and the rookie catcher. Would be surprised to see Leo Mazzoni out of the dugout pretty quick too.
Wow, Rietzma's up.
Yeah.
John Foster, the lefty, joins him. There's a strike, 3-1. When Wilkerson comes up, if Bird's aboard, gotta think awfully hard about bringing in a left-hander to try to get him out. He punishes him. And that's the decision for the Braves here. Bird walks. And Joe mentioned it. It's a replay of Friday night here. 2 late leadoff walks from young relief pitchers from Atlanta. And Bobby is going to go to the bullpen, and he is going to bring on John Foster.
And this was a matchup that Friday night occurred in the 8th inning, and Marlon Byrd, or excuse me, Brad Wilkerson ripped a double off of John Foster to tie the game.
And so this isn't a second guess, but a first guess. Wilkerson hitting .226 against right-handed pitching, .313 this year against left-handed pitching. Will face John Foster here with 2 on and nobody out. And again, we've got a ball game at RFK Stadium. This game tightening up a little bit too much for Braves fans. 6-2 Atlanta in front, but 2 leadoff walks in this 8th inning. Sets up a rematch of Friday night. Foster versus Wilkerson. Hit a breaking ball down the line in right. And Washington was on its way to a huge comeback win.
And Wilkerson actually said he was looking for a breaking ball. He said, even though I was ahead in the count, I didn't think he would give in to me. I was looking for the breaking ball, and he happened to leave it out over the plate. Hopefully Foster learned from that.
You know, the one thing about teams like this, you can't give them those extra outs or put guys on base like this, walk the first 2 guys, because you can get away with it with a below average or average ball club. But ball clubs that can hit and can come back and win games, you can't do that to. They're going to make you pay for it.
You got to remember, you've got Short, Johnson, Guillen, and Church all lurking next for the Nationals. It's a 6-2 game. 2 on, nobody out. Fastball at the belt.
That's the way to start. Get ahead in the count. There are the numbers that Chip was talking about. An odd difference for a left-handed hitter.
If you're a lefty who can hit lefties, you're worth your weight in gold in the major leagues. Low, ball 1. 2, Brad Wilkerson. 0 for 3 in the game today. One thing Frank Robinson said about his club, the one thing they haven't done all year is quit. And they're 1 hit away from being really right back in this game. Rifle shot right field. Francoeur can't get it. It's off the base of the wall. 1 run will score. First and third with 1 out. The lefty-lefty matchup we told you about didn't work again. Now it's Short, then the lefty Johnson, and Bobby another decision. 6-3, and the tying run comes to the plate.
This was a fastball, and it was right down the middle, and Wilkerson ripped it. Hit at the base of the wall, but good base running by Marlon Byrd. He realized it was over Francoeur's head. He made it to third base. So the Braves bullpen, having already blown 5 leads for John Smoltz this year, trying to hang on to this one.
And here's Short. Again, this man hit .380 down in AAA. He's got a home run in this game. A very short, compact stroke, and he's right on top of the plate.
You know, one thing we hadn't mentioned yet is that play right there with Francoeur. His reputation has already been out around the league because he held him to a single there. They're scared to run on him. So a double play right here gets you 2 outs. He keeps your double play in order, and that's a big player in this situation. You need outs right now.
Good point. Ball came back sharply off the wall to him and made it. Oh,
that one on a bounce hit short. So the bases, I believe, are going to be loaded. Short's asking for a ruling. Yeah, if the ball bounces up and hits you, you get your base. Short wants to hit. So the bases are loaded with nobody out.
Baseball, we call that a short hop. But you get to the Thunder part of their order, and Ron was talking about Nick Johnson and Jose Vidro being vital parts of this batting order. He's already homered today. We saw evidence of that, and now he's up in a clutch situation.
He also wears out left-hand pitching. Johnson a .313 hitter against them. Now have his crowd into the game. The pitch, low, pops away, no advance. 1 ball, no strikes.
John Foster is trying so hard not to make a mistake that he's throwing the ball in the dirt. That's 2 consecutive pitches that have bounced up there.
I'd like to see him get this out, too, because it will be the last batter he faces.
Might have to call for a breaking ball just to get him out of that field that he doesn't want to leave a fastball up.
A 6-3 Atlanta lead, but it's in big jeopardy. The pitch. There was the breaking ball. He missed with it. Ball 2. Guillen's next. A walk means a run. And you know, Guillen, who's worn out Atlanta all year, would love a chance to repeat Friday night's performance. That one right through there, 2-1.
This is where the people who don't go by the book, so-called book, would say, you know what, this is the save situation.
Sure, save the game in the eighth.
game's on the line here. It's not the ninth, but the game's on the line. This might be where you need to go to your closer to get out of this jam.
2-1. Ripped out of play, foul.
Get out of this jam with your guy that's been finishing games for you, and then worry about the ninth and the ninth.
Yeah, that's why that save rule is sometimes so deceptive. Your point is well taken. You have a 2 or 3 run lead in the ninth with nobody on. That's the easiest save you can get. But if you come in bases loaded, 3-run lead in the 8th inning, you just get a hold.
Right. With
and a Hale and Hardy handshake.
Right, and 1 or no outs. I mean, that's tough.
Now he's got to throw him a strike. 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation the hitter just loves, though, because he knows the pitcher's on the ropes. You know you're going to get more times than none get a fastball in the strike zone. You just be ready to hit.
Two walks, a hit, and a hit by pitch.
Patience there by Johnson on that sinker.
Pulled. It ate LaRoche alive. It hit him in the head. 1-run score. Streaking around Wilkerson. He's going to score. And no advance to third. How about that? That's a break. Hopefully LaRoche is all right. That ball absolutely smoked him at first. It's an infield hit. It's a 1-run game. Runners at first and second.
He was pointing to the area up by his cheekbone. That was a wickedly hit ball that came up on him. He was trying to knock it down, and it hit him right in the side of the face. And it's 6-5. My goodness. Hope Adam is all right.
It's a 6-5 game. Now keep in mind here, Guillen, who was the man on deck, was hollering at Rick Short to move on to third because Foster is the man who went all the way to the Braves dugout to pick up the bouncing ball. Short wasn't able to do that. And so now, instead of first and third with the tying run, you've got first and second and nobody out and Guillen up. So if you can somehow get Guillen out without advancing runners, you're a double play away from escaping this 8th inning with the lead. But it's cost you 4 runs so far, and maybe it's cost you LaRoche.
I'm not sure Short saw the ball, Chip. I'm not sure that he knew where the ball was and was comfortable enough because Huppert, the third base coach, was really waving Wilkerson home. He was trying to get him to score and really wasn't paying attention or coaching Short as to what to do. Rick didn't know where to go because he didn't see the ball.
Right, yeah, and plus his back is to that play, so he doesn't really know what's going on anyway. He's got to rely on his third base coach.
So, guys, neither Boyer nor Foster can retire a man. 5 men have reached. 3 of them have scored to this point, and the Braves are clinging to a 1-run lead as we rejoin Mark Fine.
All right, thanks very much, Chip. Welcome back to our Atlanta studios. Speaking of clinging, the Nationals obviously clinging to their wild card hopes. The team in the lead, the Houston Astros, in action today, taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Astros paying their respects on 9/11, and Milwaukee not showing a whole lot of respect for Roy Oswalt, who's just been lights out for Houston as of late. Carlos Lee with an RBI single in the early going, and then Rookie Ricky Weeks. This guy's the real deal. Takes Oswald deep to left. 2-run shot. It is 3-0 Milwaukee. They're now in the top of the 5th. Also want to update you on the Yankees and the Red Sox, obviously in New York. They are also remembering 9/11. Jason Giambi facing Tim Wakefield in the first, and that is gone to right. 29 on the season, 4 against the Red Sox for Giambi. And Randy Johnson really stepping up for the Yanks today. Gets Doug Mirabelli in the second. Then it's Bill Miller swinging in the fourth. 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, 100 pitches, no runs, 2 walks for Johnson. They're now in the top of the 9th, 1-0 New York. Let's get you back to Washington, D.C. now. Chip, Joe, and Ron standing by, guys.
All right, Mark, thank you. Great job as always back in our Atlanta studios. Here it's 6-5 now. Braves in front. And defensive changes for Atlanta. Julio Franco is in to play first base for the Braves. Adam LaRoche left after that ball hit him in the face on a bounce. And Chris Rietzma in. Runners first and second, nobody out for the Nationals.
And he's nursing a sore hamstring low in his leg, right above the back of his knee on the left side.
And an inside corner strike. Chris observing the game, you know. Saw last time up Guillen argue over a couple of pitches inside like that when John Smoltz was still out there in the 6th. Then John polished Guillen off with a nasty breaking ball. Let's see if that's the pattern here.
Too much at stake here for Guillen to go up there pouting about that. He better bear down.
Oh, a strikeout here would be a big help. Way high, evens the count, a ball and a strike. Guillen lifetime against Rietzma 0 for 2.
And depending on how his leg's feeling, Chip, he at least should be fresh. He hasn't thrown for a few days. He's got good life on his fastball. That's obvious already.
1 ball, 1 strike. Not much speed aboard for the Nationals. Roller foul past third. That speeds up his bat. Let's see if Rietzma's got the good changeup available here for Guillen.
That play, though, of Short not going on around to third base might turn out to be enormous in the outcome of this game if Rietzma can get a ground ball here.
And, of course, as soon as we find out anything on Adam LaRoche, we'll pass that along to you here in our final couple of innings. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Braves and Nationals, and guess what? Another 1-run game.
Yeah, they've split 18 games this year.
Smoltz went 7. Boyer, Foster, Rietzma all have followed here in the 8th, and still not a single National has been retired. That might set up the outside corner. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He's got some choices here, Chip.
Yep.
He's got a good changeup. He hasn't thrown his curveball yet, I don't think. And he's got such a good fastball. I'm not so sure I wouldn't try it again on the inside part.
Ian's hit just 3 home runs in his home park. Fly ball, center field. Not deep enough. Short's going to tag now. Had he made it to third before, they'd have tied the game on that play. Instead, they're at first and third, 1 out. The double play still in order, and the Braves are in front by a run.
Boy, is he strong. Guillen, that ball rode up and in on him, and he still hit it about 400 feet. Did you see Marcus waving his arms, trying to make sure get Andrew to throw it into second base, keep the double play in order?
You guys are right, because even in that situation, if he would have been at third base and they would have got a double play in that situation, you still get the run.
So they're at first and third for Church, who's 0 for 3 today. He's hitting to 6 double plays on the season. Chipper Jones even with the bag at third in case Church thinks about a bunt. He flies it to left field. Will that be deep enough? It might be. Langerhans fights the sun, makes the catch, throws the ball in towards second, where Johnson also advances on a tag. Sac fly for Church to left, and it's new life for the Nationals. 6-6, and the Braves not out of the woods yet. Johnson's in scoring position with 2 outs. And the 6th blown save for John Smoltz.
Yep. That was a gutsy move on Johnson's part. If Langerhans throws that ball back into the infield on the bag and he gets tagged out before the run scores, the inning's over.
And if you don't get Zimmerman here, if he reaches with a hit, the game might be over. Remember, though, Johnson does not run well. He's got a bad heel. It might take a gapper to score him from second. Braves' arms in the outfield, all very good, more importantly, accurate. But if Washington takes the lead here, you know they've got Cordero for the 9th.
This is so eerie about how this inning started, just like it did in the 8th inning on Friday night, with back-to-back walks to start the inning. John Foster coming in and not able to record an out.
1 ball, 1 strike. Huge lead by Johnson, and Zimmerman takes a high strike. Yeah, in that 8th inning, 2 leadoff walks from Davies. Foster came in, a sacrifice, a double, a walk. He came out. Dan Kolb came in. Guillen picked up his 1,000th major league hit with a 2-run scoring double, and Washington won the game 8-6. Here it's 6-6 in the 8th. Line center field, base hit. Johnson around third. Washington has taken the lead.
I'm not sure how many ovations Ryan Zimmerman heard out of the bleachers at the University of Virginia back in April and May, but this is one that's rocking our press box here with that clutch hit.
Well, guys, I mentioned it earlier. The one thing the Braves are going to have a problem and have to address is that bullpen. If we can't get that bullpen straightened out in this situation coming down the stretch, it's going to hurt them in postseason.
The other lingering question is, as Bobby Cox comes on, and again into the bullpen goes the Braves manager, was Kyle Farnsworth available? He's had a bad back. He did not pitch in this 8th inning. McKay McBride is coming on. Back to RFK in a moment.
Fan once more, TNT presents the NBA Players Hurricane Relief Game as the NBA's biggest stars come out to support the victims of Hurricane Katrina. Players like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and other great players are doing their part to help join in the healing and give you an opportunity to give as well. And that's tonight on TNT at 11 p.m.
A 5-run 8-4 Washington. And McKay McBride's the 4th pitcher trying to get that ever-elusive 3rd out. Boyer, no innings pitched, 2 walks, 2 runs. Foster, no innings pitched, 3 runs, 2 hits. And a hit batsman. Chris Reitsma, 2/3 of an inning with a hit and no runs. But the man Zimmerman at first belongs to him. Brian Schneider, the hitter, against McKay McBride. And the kid out of Sylvania, Georgia, drops in a strike.
And fellas, this is it. This is the bullpen that you select for your postseason from. It's not like you can go out and get a bunch of guys on the waiver wire and have them eligible. You can't make trades and make a player eligible. These are the guys that have to step up and start doing the job, or it's going to be a quick exit again for Atlanta in close games if they can't hold leads. This is 2 games in this series alone where Atlanta had a 4-run lead late in the ball game and couldn't hang on to it.
Right, and I'm sure it's keeping Bobby Cox up at night thinking about it. What is he going to do about his bullpen?
hammer throw again for the Nationals by Brian Schneider. And that ends the 8th. But boy, for the Braves, that was tough to watch. It's 7-6. Well, can the Braves muster a rally themselves in the late innings? It'll be Julio Franco, Rafael Furcal, Marcus Giles, and then we hope the Jones boys. That was just an awful pitching 8th inning for Atlanta.
Keep in mind, yesterday the Braves shut out Washington as Jorge Sosa worked 8 shutout innings. And then Kyle Farnsworth came in and cleaned up the 9th inning. There wasn't any problem. 1-2-3 9th with a 4-run lead. But today, Boyer, Foster, Rietsma, nobody could close the door. Andrew Jones visibly upset out on the field, and he's not such a happy camper sitting there in the dugout either.
Braves bullpen in August 3-4, a 4.58 earned run average. In September 3-2, a 5.14 earned run average. In fact, the Braves since the 1st of August are 6 of 14 in save situations. When you have saved fewer than you've let slip away, you've not had a very good run.
That's horrible.
And so now they've got to go at it against maybe the best closer right now in the National League in Chad Cordero, a franchise record 44 saves for Washington. And Julio Franco, a laser beam at the knees, down a strike.
You know, a lot of his success is that right there. He comes in, he throws strikes. That wasn't down the middle of the plate. It was on the inside corner. He knows what Franco's trying to do. He knows he likes to hit the ball to right field and to right center field, so he comes inside on it.
That one upstairs. And as this inning progresses, keep in mind, too, look at where the shadows are. Right now, right-hand hitters are in pretty good shape. Another couple minutes, the lefties are going to have some real issues standing in the shadows with Cordero in the bright sunshine.
Well, maybe Cordero will return the favor. Put a couple of guys on for Atlanta.
He ain't let a couple slip by on this homestand for Washington. So he's been human. The 2-1 pitch. Swing and a line drive center field. There's a start. Julio Franco with a pinch hit. Now you've got the Rabbits coming up, and let's see if they leave Julio in the game or they pinch hit with him. I would guess they'd have to pinch run, with Pete Orr, and that's going to be the case. So a big at bat for Julio Franco puts the tying run on, and Bobby Cox can play it a number of ways here with Furcal, Giles, and Chipper coming up.
That ties him with Joe Morgan on the all-time list. 2,517 hits, number 78 on the all-time list.
So Pete Orr at first now. And Furcal the hitter. Furcal has walked twice, reached on an error, and hit a sacrifice fly. That came back in the 4th inning. Washington leads it 7-6.
That book I was talking about earlier,
yes,
says that when you're playing on the road, you play for the win. You don't play for the tie. You could use Furcal, and he showed bunt there, and you could have him try to drop a bunt down for a base hit and try to get on base at the same time as moving the tying run up.
Well, here's the question. Who's got more relief pitchers left? Washington started all their relief pitchers today.
Yeah.
They have Eischen and Carrasco left. Both of those guys pitched yesterday for Washington. Both of those guys have made a very heavy workload for the Nationals this year. Braves have used Foster, McBride, Boyer, Rietsma. So why not play it for the tie? And
I've always felt like I'll tie it up now and then again worry about winning it the next opportunity.
Keep the game alive. Sure. 1 ball, 1 strike. Farnsworth is up and throwing for Atlanta now. appears Bobby was going to use him only, or is going to use him only when the Braves have a lead, kind of like the way Carrasco is used.
He's had a stiff back, and they've been trying to use him as sparingly as possible. I think it takes him a little while to get loose.
1-1 pitch. High fly ball, got under that. Church in left. Battles the sun. One man down. No bunt from for call. Here's Giles. Now with one out, that takes away a bunt.
All right, well, that's, this run is the most important run to tie the ball game up. You got to get him in scoring position any way you can. I don't see why you don't bunt in that situation.
Schneider out to talk to Cordero, and Giles a good hit and run man. The trouble with trying something different, trying to maybe go first to third here with a hit and run, is that if Giles swings and misses, or they throw a pitch he can't reach, you know how tough Schneider is to steal on. We've already talked about that.
Don't rule out Giles trying to bunt for a hit. Swing, and he pops it up to left. Church playing deep, had to come scrambling in, but he's recovered in time. 2 down. Marcus reaching for that ball. Swings at the first ball, and it's up to Chipper Jones. Can the Braves third baseman rescue Atlanta here in the 9th inning?
Just to show you how important the runner is at first base, back in 2001, I was with the Athletics, and a lot of people might have remembered this. We were in the playoffs against the Yankees, and there was a ball. Jeremy Giambi was on first base. There was a ball hit down the right field line, and that was a play where Jeter came across and made the flip to home. Well, if, say like a Pete Ora was running, there wouldn't even been a play at home plate. So that's how important speed is in that situation at first base.
It's up to Chipper Jones, who doubled home a run in the first. Again, down to your last out. You don't run with Orr in this situation.
Not with this guy at the plate.
You've got Andrew waiting on deck. 2-0 the count.
Cordero's not overpowering. He throws hard enough, certainly, right around 90. The thing that's made him successful this year is throwing strikes, like Chip said, and being aggressive early in the count. But he's fallen behind Chipper. We saw that worked in Julio's favor earlier.
Fly ball, right center field. Did he get enough? Did he get enough? He got enough! A 2-run homer for Chipper Jones. Can you believe it?
Well, if you look in this situation, and the reason why he got that pitch to hit is because of the guy on deck. You don't want that guy on deck to beat you, so you're trying to get the guy in front of him out. Gave him a pitch to handle, and he just jumped all over it. I mean, that's right, belt high, right down the middle. And that's because of the result of the guy that's hitting behind him in Andrew Jones.
That and a 2-0 count. I mean, the fact that Cordero couldn't use that sinker and slider the way he wanted to get Chipper to swing at his pitch, he had to groove one.
Andrew Jones is up. I want to take another look at the replay. You want to talk about a guy locked in? Watch his cheeks before he even makes contact. He knows he's going to crush that ball.
Well, he looked down knowing that it was where it was going to land.
How about this one, folks? 8-7. Atlanta takes the lead back. Now we look ahead to the bottom of the 9th inning.
Tell you what Chipper did. He just kept Andrew from taking out about 4 or 5 members of the bullpen.
Yeah.
0-2. That one lined softly over third.
And I'm sure somebody would have got an earful after this game, because Andrew was not happy in center field after they gave up that lead.
Well, you guys were on the field for long times as major league players. There's nothing more exhilarating as an offense than what you've seen Chipper Jones do. When your team fights for 3 hours to get a lead and it evaporates in a matter of 10 minutes, there's nothing that rips your heart out more, is there? Wow. There's another rocket shot. Andrew Jones. Bye-bye. 49 for Andrew.
His 9th multi-homer game of the year. He took out a little frustration on that one. 2 upper deck shots back to back. When was the last time you saw Andrew come back to the dugout with that much exhilaration?
Well, if you can't outpitch him late, you got to find a way to outscore him late. And Atlanta in this 9th inning erupts for 3 runs with 2 outs, takes a 2-run lead. And Todd Hollingsworth is on. And Hollingsworth down 2 strikes.
The Jones boys are red hot.
How many times have they homered together in the same game?
Whole bunch. Does that help you?
Thanks.
They usually win when they do.
48 times, says Hal Galima, our erstwhile statistician. Whole bunch. You are from Oklahoma. High pop up, shallow right.
Yes, I am.
Guillen is under it. He's got it. And the dismay turns to jubilation for the moment for Atlanta. 3 runs with 2 outs. 3 outs to get with a 2-run lead. Well, I think we've had enough drama for 1 inning and a half stretch, don't you think? Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones go back-to-back off Chad Cordero in the top of the 9th inning, turning the game around. Atlanta now leads by a pair, 9-7, as Todd Hollingsworth takes over at first base, and Kyle Farnsworth will try to remain perfect as the Braves closer. Guzman, then we'll see for the Nationals. First pitch popped up left side. Chipper Jones, lots of ground to cover, lots of room to make the first out. 1 down.
Thank you very much.
They've done it all day. The Nationals very eager in the count. Swing early. And Carlos Baerga is going to hit.
I know there are some detractors out there about the MVP award with respect to Andrew Jones' batting average. But anybody that thinks this guy hasn't been coming through in some big games lately is nuts if they don't think he's MVP caliber with what he's doing.
I saw the game with Pete and Don the other day, and Pete was talking about the detractors saying, hey, he doesn't have a very high average with runners in scoring position. Who cares? He's got 121 RBIs and 49 home runs.
No, but he's got 21 game-winning hits. I mean, that's probably best in baseball, definitely in the National League.
Well, the point of that hitting with what that writer didn't delve deep enough into is that Andrew, hitting with runners in scoring position, has still driven in more runners than Lee and Pujols have driven in with a 300-plus average with runners in scoring position.
1-strike pitch, and advantage to the pitchers right now. Look at the shadows across home plate as Baerga, a 1-1 count. Look, they're taking nothing away from Lee and Pujols or Cabrera. We're all biased. We work for the Braves, follow this team. We've seen Andrew play every day or virtually every day. When you factor in the injuries that this team has had, the fact that for much of this season, while Chipper Jones was out with all these rookies, 17, 18 of them at times for the Braves, it's been Andrew Jones who's been the one foundation upon which Bobby Cox could erect his offense.
Yeah, and I'm not meaning to slight Chipper here with his clutch hit, which put Atlanta back on top. I'm not trying to dismiss that. It was huge, and he's always been a clutch hitter in September.
See you later. That slider mesmerizes Baerga. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th.
But Andrew with another 2 home run game, 2 more RBIs, great defense, MVP. And playing in a lot of tough ball games because this division is so close and so many teams involved in the wild card. The Cardinals running away with the Central Division. It's just fact of the matter is they're not playing in that many desperate games with other teams.
Wilkerson, the final hope. The only concern I think Andrew should really have is this. First time Barry Bonds isn't going to be in the MVP sweepstakes. And Albert Pujols has been finishing second to Barry Bonds a couple of times in that MVP race. There's going to be a lot of folks who say, okay, it's Albert Pujols' turn.
Yeah, but it's about this year. It's not about last year.
Right, it's about what's going on that
agree.
field. I mean, it's hard to say that Andrew hasn't helped this ball club more than anybody else has helped their ball club. It's just hard to, I can't fathom that.
Well, it's the same kind of thing you're going to see with folks who say about Roger Clemens. Okay, he hasn't got any run support. He's 47,000 years old. Let's give him some Cy Young consideration.
Right, well,
Chris Carpenter and Dontrell Willis, by the numbers, have won more games than Roger Clemens.
But you look at his ERA, and you can tell that's how well he's pitched this year.
So McKay McBride has a chance to pick up his first major league win in unforgettable fashion today, huh? And one more strike will do that. One more strike will be the 6th save for Farnsworth, the 12th of this season. I'm not sure if Kyle had 12 major league saves coming into this year.
Did.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Nothing fancy needed here. Just getting out.
That's why I loved seeing Guzman swing at the first pitch. You don't know if this guy's going to come in and start walking the ballpark. And he went after a bad pitch.
Sorry, Joe. I think Farnsworth knows he's on a ball club now, and he wants to be a big part of it. A club that wins a lot and wins often.
They win today.
Taking advantage.
And they snatched victory right out of the jaws of defeat in this one. This could have been a cataclysmic loss. Instead, Frank Robinson's bullpen, which pitched all day long, the strongest link, Chad Cordero, finally snapped at the end. The Braves get back-to-back homers from Chipper Jones, from Andrew Jones, and they come back in the 9th inning to beat the Nationals by a 9-7 final score, and we'll talk about it in a moment.
Braves TBS Extra, brought to you by Aflac. Ask about it at work. By Delta, where good goes around. Find out more at delta.com. By the UPS Store. We offer the personal service your small business needs. And by Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you.